Here's how to sell digital products with 0 followers. And if you're thinking, yeah, right, this trick is full of bologna sandwiches. Okay, here's an actual screenshot of one of my students who made digital product sales with only 2 reels posted, quote unquote, didn't even promote it yet. So I've got my coffee. Let's dive right in. And if you're new here, hi, I'm Melissa, and I've been creating and selling my own digital products for over 8 years. And now I teach other people how to create and sell their own digital products too. So one of the biggest misconceptions and misunderstandings that I hear all the time is, well, Melissa, you only make so many digital product sales because you have over 100,000 followers. And that's simply not true. Followers do not equal sales. I have had clients come to me, not kidding, have 200,000 followers. Now I think she has like over 300,000 followers. She's crushing it. But when she came to me at 200,000 followers, her digital product was only like $37. So it wasn't a pricing problem, but she wasn't making any sales. And it's so often that we think, oh, if we just get more followers, if we just go viral and get more views, then people will buy our digital products, because it's just logical, right? It's a numbers game. And that is correct. The more views that you get, the more followers that you get, the more sales that you can make. But that only works if your messaging is right, if your systems are set up correctly, if your sales page is right. Like, so many things have to actually be aligned. Otherwise, you're just getting views and not getting paid for it. And this can be the problem with ads too, is people think, oh, well, if I just turn on ads, if I just run an ad and get more views, I'll make sales. If I just go viral and get more views, I'll make sales. But that doesn't work, okay? It doesn't exactly work like that. So, and let me just show you, here's another student, by the way, who only has, I think she has less than 4,000 followers. And let me just double check and make sure, but I'll show you exactly how much money she's made in the last 38 days. Let me look at, I literally did a story on her the other day. Okay, here it is. So this is like a screenshot of a message between me and her, and you can see that she's made $13,923 in 38 days. I don't know if you can see that. I'll literally put a copy of it right here. Okay, so, and you can see, let me see how many followers she has. So 3,949, so just under 4,000. So don't feel like you have to have 100,000 followers to make sales, because you don't. I have students all the time. Here's another screenshot of one. She literally just started her Instagram account and made 12 sales, launching her first ever ebook, because this method that I'm about to show you works. And it works regardless of how many followers you have, the niche that you're in, how many views you get. Like I said, that's only relevant if all of the other stars are aligned, and I'm going to show you how to do that in just a second. Okay, so let me turn this window capture on so you guys can see my screen. Okay, so how to leverage Instagram. I don't know what is on my screen. How to leverage Instagram when you only have so many followers, or you have no followers, you're a brand new account. Like my student who made sales with 2 reels. So one thing that's important to remember is that, so with reels, a percentage of the views are shown to 2 categories. Your reels are shown to your current followers, but they're also shown to non-followers. Okay? And the algorithm is very good, by the way, in knowing who to send your reels to, which audience to send it to. However, if you have a large account like mine, like if you go and you look at, and you know what, I'll add it right here. But the algorithm is very good with large accounts. It kind of almost like splits it to where it's shown to both followers and non-followers. Okay. Now, let me show you on a smaller account that I have that has very little followers, and look at the difference. You can see the difference in the percentage that this reel was shown to with non-followers, right? So when you have a small account, because of the Instagram update, you actually have a greater chance of your reels being shown to non-followers. And so that's how you can, in a nutshell, that's how you can make sales on a brand new account with no followers, is because Instagram is going to show your reels to non-followers. You're going to have a greater reach. So have like the graph you just saw. Whereas on my account, mine is kind of like this. Maybe not quite. Maybe something like this, to where this is non-followers and this is followers, right? But for you, who has a new account, and for a lot of my students who have new accounts, I'm sorry, I am not techie, who have new accounts, right? It's going to look different. It's going to look more like this. And this right here is going to be non-followers. And then this right here is going to be, the little bit of followers that you do have. And sometimes it's less than that. I have seen it to where it was actually much smaller. I have seen it where some of my students' graphs are like this. And this is their current followers. And then all of this here is non-followers. Okay. So keep that in mind. Don't feel like I don't have any followers. My reels are not going to reach anyone. I'm not going to make any sales. No, it doesn't work like that. Okay. You have to learn how to leverage Instagram and leverage the algorithm and know how to create good content that's going to get shown to non-followers. Now, say you've already started posting. You've been posting for a couple of weeks now, or even like a month, and you're like, I'm just not getting the reach. I'm not even reaching non-followers. I have students who come to me like this all the time. They're like, Melissa, can you just look at my Instagram account? I can usually tell within 3 seconds by looking at your content. And it can feel a little harsh, but it's just simply because their content is not good. It's not what it needs to be. And by content, I don't mean like ideas. Most of the time, the idea behind the content is brilliant. They're going in the right direction, but the actual video itself is poor quality, or the messaging is just not, they were not the right words to use. Okay. So make sure that you are using the right messaging, because it doesn't matter how many views you get. If your messaging is not where it needs to be, and you're not turning all of these new followers or all of these new eyes into buyers, what's the point, right? So your messaging has to be on point. The other thing too is that you want to make sure that your reel, for the most part, is somewhat aesthetic. Now, when I say aesthetic, I don't mean having a perfectly clean house. I don't mean having, high dollar clothing. It does not have to be like that. In fact, most of the time, the reels for me that performed well were the ones where I have the messiest hair. Sometimes I'm even wearing a hat because I haven't washed my hair in so many days. I'm in my dirty car. But there is somewhat of an aesthetic or like a vibe to the reel that matches the messaging of the reel. Those two things have to match up, because your reel and your content is going to give off a feeling. So do it like this. Is going to give off a feeling. And you have to remember that feelings are attached to emotions. And our emotions and how we feel determines on whether or not we take action, on whether or not we actually decide to follow, whether or not we actually decide to buy from you, all of those things, okay? Because if we're feeling unattached or we're feeling a disconnect, we're going to click away and we're going to go somewhere else. If it's a vibe that we don't like, that our energy does not resonate with, we're going to feel like cringy and we're going to scroll. So you do have to have some type of aesthetic to it that matches those feelings and emotions that you're trying to give off with the reel. And you have to remember too that your Instagram content is a sales funnel. It is a funnel. And so think about the buyer journey, right? You have people here, you have people here, and then down here is the money, right? This is where people actually buy. And so with the buyer's journey, and with your content, you should be reaching people in all 3 of these points. So what I see happening a lot is people are so focused on one or the other that they're missing this. And you have to have all 3 in order for the buyer to come into your funnel and move down and purchase. You have to have all 3. And you can put all 3 in one piece of content, by the way. That's what my students are doing. That's why they're making sales so early. So in order to first get them at the top here, in order to first get them here, this is going to be your top of funnel content. This is your viral content. Viral typically means it appeals to the masses, and it's going to get you the most amount of views. See, it's up here. It's appealing to the most amount of people. Then the next thing you're going to do, this is more of like your nurturing point of your funnel. And this is going to look different for everyone. If you're never unsure on what to put for nurturing, use your story. It's usually the easiest thing. And nurturing is so powerful because it resonates. And a lot of times people do it wrong by trying to be relatable, but your buyers don't want relatable. They want to resonate, okay? So resonate. Then down here is where the sales actually happens, and that's your conversion. And so what I see happening all the time is people are trying too hard, usually on top of funnel. They're trying to just, well, if I just had more views, if I just had more followers, I would make sales. But all of their content is up here. And so the buyer is coming into their world, but never moving past this top part. That's why they're not making sales. The other thing that I see is people are trying so hard to be relatable. Well, I'm a mom. I want to relate to other moms. I want to share my story. And so what's happening is the buyers are literally stuck in the middle. They're not moving anywhere, and you're not attracting new people because you're probably not getting a ton of views because it's not top of funnel. They're just stuck in this awkward middle. And then the other thing that I see is that people only post this type of content. They only post that bottom of funnel conversion content. And they'll make sales initially because the people who are here will get this type of content and they'll make sales. But eventually you're going to run out of people here. Like, it doesn't matter how many followers you have, whether you have 10 or whether you have 100,000 or even non-followers. Like, eventually you're going to run out. So you have to keep, just like a bank account, you can only get out what you put in, right? So you have to keep putting people in here. Let me go back to, you have to keep putting people in here and moving them down through the funnel. This is how you can make sales, even on brand new accounts, okay? And that's just simply to post that top of funnel content so that it reaches these non-followers here. And with your messaging, move them through the funnel. Okay. Now what that's going to do is that's going to activate them, and it's going to activate them to take action. So the next thing that you need to make sure is correct is going to be your sales page. Because if your sales page is not right, then what's going to happen is you're going to get all of these hot buyers they've been through your content funnel. They're ready to buy. They're going to go to your sales page. They're going to be like, whoa, what is this? This is not right. I have so many questions. Not sure if this is going to work for me. I'm out. And you're going to lose sales. So your sales page has to be correct with the messaging, with the positioning of your offer. It doesn't matter how much you lower the price. If the buyer does not think that the outcome that you're promising can happen for them, they're not going to buy. And the other thing too is if the buyer does not see the value of your offer and the value is not equal to or greater than the price that you're asking, they're not going to buy. So your sales page has to be correct. This is going to be value, positioning, and messaging. Sorry, this pen is so hard to write with. Okay, the next thing too is they have to be able to easily get to the sales page. And so make sure that your link in bio points them to that offer. And then make sure you have automations that easily take them from content to your offer. Okay? If these things right here are not correct and are not what they need to be, then all of these views that you're going to get, I do not like this thing. Whereas all of these views that you're going to get when you're reaching all of this audience and you're moving them through your funnel, they're going to hesitate if these things are not correct. Okay. Their path should look like this, whether they're a follower or non-follower. We'll call them a viewer. So the path that they should take looks like this. So they view your reel. Here's your reel. It creates an emotion or feeling in them that makes them want to take action. Then from there, they're going to do one of two things, depending on your CTA and depending on the buyer type. One is they could essentially just comment. Sorry, this is like my comment. It kind of looks like a duck. This is my comment emoji. Okay, so one is they're going to comment the keyword to get whatever solution, to get your offer. Okay, and then at that point, they're going to get the link sent directly to their DMs. The other buyer type and the other path that they could take is they're just going to click, I think it looks something like this. They're going to click the link in your bio, and that link in your bio should take them. Let me back up a little bit. They're going to go back to your profile. This is the buyer type that I usually am, is I'll watch your reel, I'll get an emotion, but I don't always comment. A lot of times what I do is I'll click the profile and I'll go back to the profile to see what this person is really about. And then from that profile, I'll click on link in bio. I'll see what you're offering, and then I'll buy. So you have to make sure that this entire pathway, there are no holes. And I see this all the time with new students who come to me, is they're like, well, I'm posting content, I'm getting views, but nobody's buying. So when we take a step back and we look at their entire funnel process and their messaging, it's almost always a messaging issue too. We take a step back and we look, and I'm like, okay, well, you have a leak here, and you have a leak here, and you have a leak here, and oh my goodness, there is a major hole here. So you have to make sure that all of this entire pathway is easy to flow through, and that there are no holes. Otherwise, like I was saying earlier, you're going to be getting people into your funnel, and they're just going to be falling through the cracks, and it's going to make it so much more harder to make that sale. So how do you make sales on a brand new account? First things first is your reels. Post reels. As of right now, reels still have greater non-follower reach than carousels. Step number 2 is to make sure that your messaging and the aesthetic of your reel is matching the feeling and emotions that you want to give off. Next step number 3, is to make sure that your messaging and your content is sending all of those viewers through your content funnel. Okay? Step number 4 is to make sure that your sales page, your link in bio, and your automations are what they need to be, so that buyer can go through that buying process very easily, very efficiently, 0 friction, 0 hesitation. You literally want them to go through this thing and say, yes, 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 I'm in. But when there's friction, they're saying, yes, oh, I don't know, I'm out. The buyer has to feel certain, without a doubt, that you are the only solution for them. If they don't have that certainty, it creates a feeling that this is not safe for me. It creates a hesitation. And when they hesitate and it doesn't feel safe, they don't buy. Okay? So all of the things that we just went over have to be aligned in order for you to make sales on a new account. But you absolutely can. Don't come to me and say, I don't have enough followers. I don't have 10,000 followers. I don't have 100,000 followers. I'll never make money. That's not true. I just showed you exactly how to do it. This is how my students are making $4,000 in 2 weeks. This is how they're making new sales on brand new accounts, because they use the proven methods and proven frameworks that I teach you. And if you're like, okay, Melissa, that sounds great, but what words do I use in my content so that the emotion's right? What do I actually put on my sales page so that it's an easy yes? What do I actually say in the automation so that it makes them click the link and buy? I literally have everything already written out for you. I have all of your content. Everything is already ready to go inside my Passive Social Sales. This is an optional resource. Again, you don't have to buy anything ever from me if you don't want to. But if you're somebody like me who just needs like everything laid out and you need an easy step-by-step process to follow, 21 days, I'm going to link the information for my Passive Social Sales below so that you can check that out, because it's going to be extremely helpful for you and it's going to help you achieve this so much quicker. I'll see you in the next lesson.